Good morning. My name is Tim Atkins, and my pronouns are he, him, and I am happy and proud to serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. I am wearing a white and blue flower print shirt, rainbow glasses, and I am both big and tall. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who is watching us on YouTube this morning. Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're choosing to watch this. During the prelude, please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in Oklahoma City, what neighborhood, or if elsewhere, what city you're in. And now, the prelude prepares us for worship.
We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Who can tell me what holiday is being celebrated this weekend? Rosh Hashanah, right? Yeah. Rosh Hashanah, it turns out, is one of several New Years for Jewish people. In ancient times, there was a New Year for kings, and there was a New Year for sacrifices. Kind of like how we have a tax year and a fiscal year. Those are actually really good comparisons. Even now, many Jewish people celebrate a New Year for trees, which happens in the late winter, often in late January to mid-February. And this time, Rosh Hashanah is the New Year of years, the New Year of people, when Jewish people remember the time that God breathed life into human beings, the spirit of life being called Ruach. Now, there are lots of different ways to tell time. Some people tell time by tracking the phases of the moon. So many Muslim holidays, for example, are tracked by the lunar calendar. And in ancient times, many people used the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar is simply tracking the phases of the moon from the new moon to full and back to new again. We in the West track the year and celebrate the new year based on the solar system, the movement of the earth, right, as it moves around the sun. But there's another way to recognize beginnings, and that is with every single breath. Every single breath is the breath of life. It's the return of Ruach into our spirits, now and now. So I invite you to center into this time, this sacred time together, by taking a deep breath into this now. There we go. Breathing in anew. Here we go. Breathing in the now. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we sing hymn 396 into the gray hardbound hymnal. The choir is going to lead us in a round. I know this rose will open.
Good morning, everyone. For this round, I'm going to make you the choir. And it's going to be a round where we'll involve everyone according to where you're seated and together. So for the first time, we'll all sing it together. The second time, I will have this side of the church sing it, and this side of the church to follow. And then the third time, I will have the choir start, then this side, then this side. Now, when I mean this side, I mean the demarcation is from here and here for those upstairs. So it's going to be fun. First time, everyone. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. That's good. That's good. I could have had everyone in the choir. Wonderful. Now let's do this Just this side and this side. Choir, go on a little break. And I know this road. I know my fears. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. Wonderful, wonderful. That's good. Now we're going to do it in 3 forms. Pay attention, it can get tricky. Soul will. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know the I know my soul. I know this wings. I know my soul's will. Will open, will open, will open. Great job.
Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in the world, our Change for Change partners. For the month of September, our Change for Change partner is the Gender Affirming Healthcare Program of First Parish Malden. First Parish is a UU congregation in Massachusetts that is committed to supporting the rights of LGBTQ+ people and is working with a network of community partners to help trans folk receive the health care they need, regardless of the state they live in. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment, we'll be passing the offering plate. If you're not able to make a gift today, we invite you to offer a blessing for the work that they do as it passes through your hands. As you're watching us online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change in the memo line, or make an online payment to oneuc.org.
We are unconventional saints. We believe how we are together matters more than what we individually believe. Talk about unconventional for a church. We believe as Unitarian Universalists in covenants over creeds. But what is a covenant? A covenant is a list of promises we make to each other so we can all be in community together. And we are starting off our religious exploration year with a covenant, right here and right now. So will our children and youth and students please rise? All of our children and youth, go ahead and stand up. Yes, go ahead. Sure. Students, do you promise to bring your best selves to your RE classroom? Do you promise to remember to create safe places for each other and to remember that how we are together matters? Do you promise to look out for each other and to make friends with your fellow classmates? Do you promise to be an unconventional saint? Do you promise to use your superpowers for holy troublemaking, not just regular troublemaking? Do you promise to have fun, support each other, to be curious, and to ask your teachers and parents really hard questions about religion and faith? If you do, please respond with, "We promise." We promise. All right, you can sit back down. Thank you. Would our teachers and volunteers please rise? Thank you, teachers. Teachers, do you promise to show up? To show up for our children and youth on a regular basis. To show up intentionally and be your authentic selves in the classroom. To show up and build a true community with your students. To show up and build a true community with your fellow teachers. Do you promise to see yourself as an unconventional saint for your service and as a holy troublemaker? Do you promise to help our children and youth along their spiritual paths? And do you promise to help set up parents to be the spiritual leaders in their homes? If you do, please respond with, "We promise." We promise. Thank you. You may be seated. You're a clapping congregation. I love it. Would our parents please rise? All of our parents please rise. Parents, do you promise to be the primary religious educators of your family? Do you promise to support your child or children's faith development even when they ask those really tough questions from time to time? Do you promise to do your best to bring your children to the religious exploration program for their weekly boost to their spiritual development? Do you promise to become unconventional saints in your own home? Do you promise not to neglect your own spiritual needs while helping your family build its collective faith? If you do, please respond with, "We promise." We promise. All right, thank you, parents. You may be seated. All right, would our staff please rise? Staff. I don't know where we're least. Please rise into the office where you're watching this on YouTube. Staff, do you promise to support our religious exploration program and our families? Do you promise to remember that every single one of us works for all ages of the church? Do you promise to remember to bring fun, joy, and creativity to the work that we do? Do you promise to keep families at the heart of our work and consider the needs of families in every action we take and every program we create? And do you promise to embody the promise of being an unconventional saint and a holy troublemaker? If so, please respond with, "We promise." We promise. Thank you. You may be seated. And finally, all right. And then finally, with the whole congregation, please rise in body or in spirit. This last one, I promise. Congregation, do you promise to support your Lifespan Religious Exploration Program through your financial contributions to our annual pledge drive and through volunteering for Lifespan Religious Exploration events? Do you promise to embrace your own religious exploration and model for children and youth the importance of lifelong learning? And do you promise to embody being a holy troublemaker and unconventional saint? Do you promise to shower our teachers with appreciation, to shower our parents with support, and to shower our children and youth with love? If you do, please respond with, "We promise." We promise. You may be seated. I was so excited. All right. And now let our religious exploration program for the program year 2023-24 begin. So this year, we're doing something new. Before we sing our children and youth out, we're going to mention what a couple of classes are doing that day. Today, in our 2nd through 4th grade class, we're learning about Teen Titans, the power of friendship, and we're building our own superhero for it. And in our pre-K and through 1st grade class, we're talking about the importance of our names and learning where our names come from. And now, please join us in singing our children and youth and teachers off to their classes. Children, youth, and teachers, as we start singing, please rise. We're going to exit out this door and head up to our classes. Please join us in singing Go Now in Peace.
This is the very best kind of traffic jam. All of our students are receiving little candles for chalices, and the teachers are receiving apples for their name tags. So when you see them, you'll know they're a teacher or a volunteer, and you can thank them for their service. Fred Rogers is one of the heroes our teachers will be learning about this year. And while he wasn't a teacher in the traditional sense, he educated generations of children. Here's an excerpt from an interview conducted with him the year before he died, which was 20 years ago.
Good morning. I'm Jeannie Parkhurst. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a 40-year-old white woman with chin length, dark blonde hair, and I'm wearing a light pink and white striped button-up shirt. So, from the late Fred Rogers. Do you remember your favorite teachers? They were probably the ones who wanted to learn your name, who had a warm smile, who made you feel that they were glad to be there to help you learn. No matter how old or young we are, we learn best from people who care about us. That relationship grows when teachers are friendly, respectful, and interested in us as unique human beings. Of course, caring doesn't mean letting children do whatever they want to do. In fact, children need their teachers to be in charge of the classroom. They thrive in a structured atmosphere in which teachers make appropriate and reasonable rules and follow through by enforcing those rules with kindness and firmness. An old Quaker adage says, attitudes are caught, not taught. The teacher sets the attitude of the classroom, and that attitude is contagious. Children learn from their teacher's example, from the way the teacher respects each child, and from the way the teacher expects children to treat one another. Children need to learn that they don't have to like everyone, but they do have to be courteous to everyone. When children learn more about one another, and when they know their teachers recognize and celebrate their differences, they are more likely to feel a sense of community in the classroom. Teachers foster mutual respect when they provide activities that encourage conversation, sharing, and interaction. Children aren't empty vessels into which teachers simply pour facts. Children come to the classroom with feelings, concerns, anxieties, and joys. Many children today are at risk. Many come to school sad, angry, and deeply upset, perhaps having witnessed domestic violence or suffered some form of child abuse. Life holds few easy answers, but one thing is for sure. It's through relationships that children grow best and learn best. In fact, most formal studies of at-risk children show that what most helps make them resilient is having someone who cares about them. For our most troubled children, the teacher probably is the only truly nurturing person in their lives. Teachers give their students lifelong lessons when they help them discover what they can do when they're going through hard times, things that won't hurt themselves or anyone else. Children need to know that putting their feelings into words, whether by talking with a caring listener or writing in journals or poetry, really can help. They need to know that painting, drawing, listening to music, or playing an instrument also can help. We all must find our own ways of coping with life's stresses. Helping children begin to do that will serve them their whole lives.
Would you please join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation? And I'll begin by reading a short poem to you, and I ask you to listen to the words of the poem, let them flow over you, and notice if there was a particular word or phrase that seems to be speaking to you today. This is a poem for the High Holidays by Amy Eisen. We are at the beginning of new cycles in a world that is ours, transcending time and space. We are in the middle of taking stock as we look to next steps and ponder choices that follow. We are at the end of the last season, musing, reflecting on what we learned. We become aware that before us lies the expanse of the next beginning. We ask, what now? We find ourselves alone, communing inside with images, thoughts, and senses that translate to joy, sorrow, gratitude, fear, yearning, confusion, resentment, contentment. We find ourselves communal in actions, deeds, and meetings, in song and in shared words of prayer. We pause to look at those who surround us and to look inward at ourselves. What do we see? Faces to remind us that in minds, in hearts, in souls lie memories linking past to present to future. And we see in those connections sparks of creation that fly everywhere. Spirit of life, as we look to our past, may we remember that regret serves no one. When we consider our past errors, may we commit ourselves instead to repentance, repair, and reconciliation with those we may have harmed, including ourselves. When we look to our future, may we remember that worry serves no one. When we consider what may come, may we commit ourselves to acting in this moment in a spirit of authenticity, justice, and love, knowing that it is only in the now that we are truly alive. When we look inside ourselves, may it be in a spirit of curiosity, honesty, forgiveness, and care. And when we look outside at the people, the beings, the world around us, may it be in a spirit of gratitude. As we turn our awareness to the past, to the future, to the world inside us and all the beings outside of us, may we find connection. And in those connections, sparks of creation that fly everywhere. May it be so. You know, at this time of year, on greeting cards and on many tables of Jewish households, you will find a pomegranate. There are several reasons why pomegranates are associated with this holiday. For many, they are the new fruit that should be eaten on the second night of the high holy days, a fruit that only comes into season once a year, that we only eat this time of year. Also, the pomegranate is significant because its seeds are very sweet, and so it is eaten along with apples dipped in honey as a way of wishing for a sweet new year. The outside of the pomegranate is hard and very bitter. But inside it, there are all of these seeds, and they're all coated in this kind of sweet red jelly. At one time, it was believed that each pomegranate held within it exactly 613 seeds, which is also the number of mitzvahs or mitzvot in the Jewish sacred writings. Now, mitzvah can be a difficult word to translate. Many Jewish people will tell you that it means a good deed. And you'll hear it in sentences like, do a mitzvah and help your grandmother mow the lawn. But it's more than this. A mitzvah is a commandment. It's something that an observant Jew is obliged to do or not do as a part of their Jewish identity. Now, there aren't really exactly 613 seeds in a pomegranate, and there aren't just 613 mitzvot or commandments either. Rabbinical scholars may have identified 613 of these commandments in the Torah, in the sacred text, but there are many more, and they are coming into being all of the time. Life, after all, is always changing, and so questions of how one should live one's life are also always changing and evolving. Now, in exile and in diaspora, it fell to rabbis to determine what their people should or should not do in a given situation. And when people make certain kinds of decisions over and over for many generations, it becomes custom. And custom, both local and global, is another source of mitzvah. Mitzvah, in effect, can be understood as the way we do things. Now, for the modern Unitarian Universalist, both the word commandment and the phrase the way we do things can make us cringe. We are, after all about choosing for ourselves, not doing as we are told, and we may fear that the way we do things sounds too much like an enforcement of the status quo, or the kind of thinking that separates those people who are inside our circle of concern from those who are outside of it. But again, Jewish concept of mitzvah is more complicated than this. Instead of commandment, we might translate it as the right thing to do or not do. And instead of thinking of it as a reinforcement of the status quo, we might think about it as a kind of covenant. These are concepts we can get behind, because they allow for the possibility of change, and because they are based ultimately less in laws and more in love. Both commandments and the way we do things are only as good as they are based in care for one another, and they are only as relevant as they are responsive to new realities. So, we come back to the pomegranate and why it's an important symbol for those who celebrate Rosh Hashanah. The seeds represent the many, many mitzvot of the coming year, which are both good deeds and blessings. That's because whenever we have the opportunity to do right by another and by our own conscience, that is a blessing. Let me put it another way. A word like obligation may seem negative, but an obligation based in love is a gift. Changing a diaper, taking out the trash, cleaning up someone else's mess. None of these are things that in the abstract any of us would race to go do. And yet at various times in our lives, we are called upon to do these things for someone we love. And so it is that an obligation, as hard and as unpleasant as it may sometimes be, is also a blessing, because it means we are in relationship. We are part of something larger than ourselves. We are giving of ourselves, and not because we must, not out of fear of the consequences, but because we love. Now, some rabbis have pointed out that the word mitzvah, which, as we saw, can be translated as commandment, comes from a more ancient word that means connection. When we do right by one another, or by our true selves, or by our idea of the holy, we forge a connection. There's an old Jewish folk tale that gets at this idea. It's the story of the magic pomegranate.
I'll come back here. So once upon a time, there were 3 brothers, and these 3 brothers were very adventurous. And they decided that each of them would travel to a distant land. They would look for something amazing in that place. And when they had found it, they'd all come back together to share their findings. So the oldest brother went to the east, and there in the east, he came upon a market where people were looking at pieces of glass. And in these pieces of glass, if you looked at them just right, you could see the edges of the land. You could see far, far distant places and what was happening in them. So the brother took one of those pieces of glass, knowing he had found something truly amazing. The second brother went to the west. He also came upon a market, and in that market, people were selling magic flying carpets. And on these carpets, you could travel to the most distant places, overseas and over mountains. And so he purchased one of those carpets, knowing he had found something truly amazing to show his brothers. The third brother went to the south. And to be honest, he spent a lot of time not finding very much that was very amazing, let alone very interesting. Until one day he came across a tree. It was a pomegranate tree. Nothing special to look at in and of itself, but on that tree there grew one perfect pomegranate. Only one. He thought this was very strange. So he went to the tree and he pulled that one pomegranate down. And you know what? Just like a vending machine with candy bars, as soon as one pomegranate came off, a new one popped right back in its place. Wow, this must be a fruit with magical qualities. Who knew what kinds of wonderful things it could do? He had found something truly amazing. So now the 3 brothers came back together in their home, and they each shared what they had found. The first brother took his magical looking glass, and they all peered within it, and they saw far, far off in a distant corner a princess who was suffering, who was very, very sick. The second brother said, "Let's take my magic carpet and go to where she is so that we can help her." And so they jumped on the carpet and they flew over seas and over mountains, and they came to the land of the princess, who was indeed by that time very, very ill. The brothers weren't sure what they could do to help her. None of them were doctors. But then the third one remembered he had this very special pomegranate. He tore the pomegranate into pieces, revealing the sweet seeds inside. He knew that those seeds had healing qualities. And indeed, they're full of vitamin C, but this was before people knew about vitamin C. He knew they were magical. He gave the pomegranate to the princess, and she took half, and she ate half of the seeds. And very quickly, the rosiness came back into her cheeks, the spark came back into her eyes, and she was feeling much, much better. She was so grateful, in fact, that she said, "I will share my kingdom with one of you brothers. But first I have a question for each of you." And so she asked the first brother, "That looking glass, has it changed in any way since you came here? Does it have any less magic than when you arrived?" And the brother said, "No, it still works great. Does all the magic stuff. Hasn't changed a bit." So then she went to the second brother and said, "What about your magic carpet? Is it any less magical now that you've used it to fly here?" And the second brother said, "Oh no, it's still great. You can go anywhere you want over it, over mountains and oceans. It's perfect." So she asked the youngest brother, "And what about your pomegranate?" And he looked at it and he said, "It's only half. I gave the other half to you." And so the princess said, "It is to you, the third brother, with whom I will share everything I have, because you gave something. You gave a sacrifice. You gave something of yourself to help someone else in need."
Now, if this was only a story about self-sacrifice, that in and of itself would be great. But there is something else in this story, one detail that to me makes it extremely meaningful. That youngest brother may have given up half of his pomegranate to help another person in need. But somewhere in a faraway land, there's a new pomegranate on that tree, just waiting for someone to come and take it and help someone else. Because love isn't a finite resource. It just keeps making more. Which takes me back to the idea of mitzvah. The obligation that is also a blessing, the connection that is forged through responsibility, through right action based in love. In Jewish tradition, mitzvah isn't something we're born with. We can't intuit what is the right thing to do or not do, at least not in all of the many complex situations that modern life is always throwing us. We must learn. We must be taught. And here is a lesson that transcends any single religious tradition. Here is something that is at the very heart of religion itself, including ours, including Unitarian Universalism. The right thing to do or not do is something we learn over the course of our lifetime from others. And sometimes we learn this through the study of scripture or poetry or the writings of great philosophers or the discoveries of scientists. And sometimes we learn this from people who we think we are supposed to learn from: teachers, coaches, mentors, ministers, rabbis, priests and priestesses, parents and grandparents. But much of what we learn about how to do right by others, by ourselves, and by that which is holy, doesn't come to us through studying. And it doesn't come to us from people who would describe what they're doing as teaching. As Fred Rogers noted in the reading that Jeannie shared with you earlier, attitudes are caught, not taught. We are all of us, learning by osmosis, by the messages that others are knowingly or unknowingly putting out into the world about how to live in community with others and in peace with ourselves. And many of these messages are extremely unhealthy, even toxic. In ancient times, rabbis would compare learning to eating pomegranates, which have bitter shells but sweet and nourishing seeds. The good learner, they would say, is one who knows what to take in and what to spit out. But osmosis, by definition, is a two-way street. It's not just what we're learning from others that we need to be concerned about. It's also what we are putting out into the world, what we are teaching others without even knowing it. Each of our actions is a lesson to others, to our deepest selves, and even to a responsive and ever-changing divine mystery. Through our words and our deeds, we are saying this is the right thing to do, even at those times when in our deepest hearts we know it's not. Children are watching us, and that includes other people's children, and that includes children we don't even know. In English, via French, the word pomegranate is directly related to another word, grenade, as in hand grenade. That's because as a pomegranate is full of seeds that spill out into sweetness, a grenade is full too. But its payload is cutting deadly shrapnel. The pomegranate and the grenade have a hard shell, and they're basically the same shape. It's what they carry inside that matters. It's what they do that matters. Children are watching us, and that includes the children who still live in the hearts of other adults. And that includes the vulnerable child within each one of us. That child, too, is learning from our behavior. And we have the obligation and the blessing to do right by them, to teach them that they are precious and holy and capable of doing good things, of spreading sweetness in the world. Would you please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn? It's number 124, Be That Guide.
Be that guide whom love sustains, rise above the daily strife. Lift on high the good you'll find, help to heal the hurts of life. Be that helper, nothing daunts, doubts a friend, no
extinguish our flame, but not the light of love and community, which continues to burn in our hearts. After our service today, all are invited to go through these doors down the hallway into your right, into Daniel Hall for coffee and conversation. And also today, immediately after the service, Tim Atkins, our Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration, will be in the chapel. So if you've never been to the chapel, you go all the way down the hall, take a left all the way down and up the stairs. There's also an elevator that will get you to our upstairs. And in the chapel, he will have laid out the first round of proposals for a new playground. So if you would like to take a look at that, provide your input, your thoughts about what is missing, what we might add, how we might make it better, you're welcome to go to the chapel today and have a look and have your input. But first, I leave you with this blessing. This is a poem for the Days of Awe by Blaise Ardman. Kindness is a verb. When you do kindness, you give wings to hope. Compassion is a verb. When you do compassion, you activate the energy of empathy. Generosity is a verb. When you do generosity, you raise the vibration of gratitude. Listening is a verb. When you do listening, you awaken understanding. Peace is a verb. When you do peace, the energy of wisdom reverberates. Stillness is a verb. When you do stillness, the energy of faith is restored. Prayer is a verb. When you do prayer, the energy of joy, healing, potential, and return ignites. May you be blessed to know that your seemingly small acts kindle everlasting flames of love, goodness, and repair. May you be blessed to know you are the redeemed and the Redeemer. You are the blessing and the blessed. You are the lover and the beloved. And so together, we are the unbounded light of consciousness, the unending essence of divine spark, life unfolding through eternity. May you be so blessed.